character, his nature, it had to do with who he was and what he wanted to do and accomplish in the earth.
Yes.
We're going to see another individual that God also chose. We're going to see a man called David. And if you look at David, David is another case story of an individual that nobody really thought much of. He was the youngest one. And if we look in the book of Samuel, what we'll see is that when the prophet Samuel came to Jesse the Bethlehemite's house for a special anointing, we're going to understand that David's father brought all of his sons, but he left David out there in the field tending the sheep. Because there did not appear to be anything special about him. And you might be thinking, there's not much special about me. But I want you to know we serve a God that takes nothing and creates something.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, in Genesis, when he stepped out on nothing, he spoke and nothing became something. And you might be nothing, but God can speak to your nothing and you'll become something. Oh, he'll do it. He'll do it. He's just that type of God. But we're going to see that David, he wasn't the best, but from the perspective of men, he was the worst. Come on, read.
It reads, "But now your dynasty must end, for the Lord has sought out a man after his own heart."
All right, it's speaking about the dynasty of Saul, the Benjamite. That Saul could not obey God. That Saul, he was the choice of the people, but God had a plan before the world began where he wanted to bring forth royalty in the earth through his deity.
Yes.
Come on, read it.
"The Lord has already chosen him to be king over his people, for you have not obeyed the Lord's command."
All right, keep reading for me.
And it reads, Samuel then left Gilgad and went...
Okay, so what we clearly see is that God looks at the life of David and he considers him more than others think of him. And I want you to understand there's a lot of opinions that people may have about you. There's a lot of ideas, but the only one that counts is God's. And we need to remember that as we go through circumstances in life. A lot of times people are thinking that we belong in one place, but you've got to understand that God has me in another place. Read Acts 13 and 22. Come on, read it. Acts 13 and 22 talks about something specific in terms of the choosing of God. Come on, read it.
It reads, "After removing Saul, he made David their king. He testified concerning him, 'I have found David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart.'"
Wait a minute. God testified. God said, David is a man after my own heart. There's a lot of interpretations regarding that. I've heard some say it was because he was quick to repent. I've heard others say that David knew how to worship. That's why he was a man after God's own heart. Some say he was so much like God. Those are other ideas. But how could this man and adultery be someone after God's own heart. How? If we thoroughly look at what that means, he was a man after God's own choice. That it dealt with the choosing of God. He was not a perfect man. He had a lot of issues. Most definitely. And I want to encourage you today. You might not have it exactly right. But God's not going to throw you away. He's not going to give up on you. And we can be encouraged that each day he's going to help us to be transformed into the image of his son. He's going to put a little bit more of the cocoon on me. Until after a while I'll stop looking like myself and I'll look more like him. And so David, being a man after God's own heart, he was a man that God chose. And I want you to know that God has chosen many of us in spite of our frailties, in spite of our complexity, in spite of our issues, and he's helping us manage them. Yes. And again, the focus is on the Lord did. I know a lot of times it's just human nature. We want the credit. I had something to do. No! It was because of his greatness. It was because of his love. It was because of his character. All right, let's get to the main text. Matthew 18 and 22. Why don't you go ahead and get Romans 2 and 9. You're going to have to do a lot of reading here, but it's okay. Matthew 18 and 22 is our main text. I want to talk a little bit about what the master did. Yes. Come on, read this. Because typically in this story, when I've taught this story before, I've always focused on the servant. But I think we need to also talk about the master. Because the master, even though the servant was a scoundrel, he still gave him some room. He gave him some space.
Yes.
And he gave him something that he did not deserve. And it's reminiscent of us today in terms of the opportunities that God provides us. Yes. Because of his nature. And the question is, what are you going to do when those opportunities come? Matthew 18 and 22, start reading there. We're going to 35. Hang in there. Come on, read it.
It reads, Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times.
Peter came to God. He said, well, how many times should I forgive my brother? Should I forgive him 7 times? That should be enough, Lord. I mean, 7 is the number of perfection. Yeah. But Jesus, he flips the script like he always does and puts everything in true perspective. And he says what?
I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times.
All right. 70 times 7. Mm-hmm. And so I can't do like Mama used to tell me. You keep plucking this last nerve? No. 70 times 7. Come on, read.
Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants.
All right, now it's talking about a king. And now, even though Jesus is using a parable, you've got to understand he's still talking about himself, and he's talking about others that is the servants and that are following him. Come on, read it.
As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 talents was brought to him.
Yes.
Since he was
10,000 talents, that's over $1 million. All right? He owed the master a whole lot of money. Come on.
Since he was not able to pay the debt, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had be sold.
I want you to know that there was a debt. And that debt was sin that passed upon all men. And we were unable to pay the debt. We were not holy enough. We were not righteous enough. Our blood was not pure enough. And we deserve, justice deserve to have its way. But instead of justice, God allowed mercy to come because he came incarnate. He put on flesh.
Yes.
And he gave his best. He died on the cross. He paid the price and sacrificed his life. Come on, read it.
The servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient with me, he begged, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go.
The master had pity on him. And the master today has pity on us because of the sacrifice of Christ. And he has forgiven us. We've got a clean slate. I don't care what you did, how long you were doing it, how wretched, how miserable, how just despicable we were.
Yes.
God has given us a clean slate through Jesus. He's done it for us.
Yes.
And we can walk in victory. Come on, read it.
The servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient with me, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt.
He took pity on him. Now, what I need you to understand, it wasn't because this guy was so great. It was because the master was so great. Come on, read.
But when that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him a...
I'm going to tell you what kind of rascal he was. Even though the master had forgiven him for millions. Come on, read it.
But when the servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 pence.
All the servant owed him was 1,000, and he had been forgiven for 1,000,000. But what did he do?
He grabbed him and began to choke him.
He choked him. I want my money. That was funny. So obviously, the forgiveness of the master didn't have much to do with the quality of the servant, but it had more to do with how stupendous and how wonderful and how merciful the master was. And I'm convinced today, I don't care where you are in your life, the character and nature of God abound. He gives us opportunities.
Yes.
When he should give us dead ends. And we need to be grateful and thankful and ready to reciprocate and to give the love that has been given to us.
Yes.
You got it? Okay, good. God does not play favorites. There is no respect of person. We need to talk about this a little bit. In life sometimes, we like to sort of compare and contrast things. But I need you to understand that we're limited in our vision and our comprehension. In other words, what I mean by that, we don't know why certain things are happening. Some people are convinced when the materialism comes, woo, the houses and the cars, oh, it's got to be Not necessarily. The devil can give you some things too. Do not assume that gain is godliness in itself. What profit is there if a man or woman gain the whole world? Ooh, look at all like that. Ooh. You gain the whole world, but you lose your soul. So you can gain a whole lot, but lose even more. What are you going to give in exchange for your soul? What's worth it? For some people, materialism is worth it. I'll take this time for my eternity any day. So we do not see or understand every variable, every outcome. Looks can be deceiving. Don't always assume that it's God.
Yes.
Romans 2 and 9. Read it loud. Come on.
There will be trouble for everyone who keeps on doing what is evil.
All right. I don't care what they say. I don't care how they say it. Oh, it don't matter. Come on, read it. Go back to the beginning. Read it.
There will be trouble for everyone who keeps on doing what is evil.
There's going to be trouble! You keep doing evil. After a while, you're going to go bankrupt in God's mercies. Come on, read it.
For the Jew first, and also for the Gentile.
I don't care who it is. If it's the Jew, it's the Gentile. He covered the whole world when he said that. Come on, read it.
But there will be glory and honor and peace from God for all who do good.
All right. Keep reading. Come on.
For the Jew first, and also for the Gentile.
Yes.
For God does not show favoritism.
All right. You're going to know who lives holy after a while. So why am I suffering? I'm telling you this, all that live godly in Christ Jesus, they're going to get a big house? No, you shall suffer persecution. That's what the word says. Would you get 1 Peter for me? 4 and 15.
Yes.
What are you suffering as? Come on, read it, ma'am.
It reads, if you suffer, it should not be as a murderer or thief or any kind of criminal or even as a meddler.
Now, if I haven't been meddling, if I haven't been stealing, if I haven't been killing,
Yes.
and I'm suffering, that's the right kind of suffering.
Yes.
But there's a wrong kind of suffering. If you do all the evil works, the suffering that comes with that belongs to you. But if you're following God and the suffering comes, then you're suffering as a Christian and there is a reward. Because if you want to reign with him, you've got to suffer with him. That's just the true hard facts. Nobody wants to tell you that today. We want to say, ooh, it's just skip to the loo, my darling. But there's been many times that I've questioned, not my faith, but what's happening in my life. There's many times that I've cried and I've wondered and I've had my heart disappointed. But I'm committed to God no matter what comes in my life. I'm committed to serve